right, so today we're diving into the Battle of Thermopylae.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're not just talking about like the basic stuff you already know.
Right.
We're going deep
Sure.
with this book by Conrad Riker called Thermopylae, The Rite of Passage.
Okay.
And he has this really interesting take on it.
Okay.
He kind of examines courage and masculinity through the lens of these Spartan warriors.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And what I think is going to be really cool is he links it back to like
I see.
how we understand these concepts like today, you know?
That's fascinating. Yeah. No, it's not just like a history book, you know?
Right.
He goes into the Spartan training system.
Right.
He talks about the strategic importance of Thermopylae and even like how it influenced Western civilization.
Oh, wow.
Like even now.
Wow.
You know, it's crazy.
That's amazing.
Like he really dives into the Spartan mindset and what made them such incredible warriors.
Okay, so let's set the scene a little bit. It's 480 BC, ancient Greece.
Right.
We've got the Persian Empire,
Right.
led by Xerxes, and they're expanding like crazy, and they're clashing with these independent Greek city-states.
Right.
So it's this huge showdown
Totally.
between two completely different ways of life.
Yeah, it really was this clash of cultures and
Yeah.
ideology. You've got the Persians with their massive empire and centralized power.
Right.
And then you have the Greeks
Yeah.
who valued their individual city-states and their democratic ideals.
Right.
So Thermopylae becomes this symbolic point
Wow.
where these two worlds collide.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And the location itself
Right.
is so crucial to this whole story.
It is.
I mean, Thermopylae is this narrow pass.
Yeah.
It's almost like a bottleneck. You've got these towering cliffs on one side and the sea on the other. Riker does such a good job describing it.
He does.
You can practically feel the tension as these armies approach this choke point.
Yeah, the terrain itself really dictated like
Right.
the strategies of both sides.
Totally.
So for the Greeks,
Yeah.
the narrow pass meant they could funnel the Persians
Right.
into a space where their superior numbers
Huh.
didn't matter as much.
Oh, wow.
It was a brilliant way to level the playing field.
Yeah, that's so smart.
Yeah.
So that's where the Spartan phalanx comes in, right?
Yeah.
That tightly packed formation.
Yes.
Overlapping shield. I mean, it must have been almost unbreakable
Oh.
in that kind of environment.
Absolutely.
I mean, just imagine.
It totally threw the Persians off. Like their usual tactics, you
Yeah.
know, like using their cavalry and just overwhelming numbers.
Right.
It was suddenly useless.
Wow.
They were forced to engage in this style of combat that they were totally unprepared for.
Wow. So let's talk about these Spartan warriors.
Okay.
I mean, these guys were like
Yeah.
the ultimate fighting force,
Oh.
but their training was legendary.
It was.
Brutal even. I mean, Riker details the Agoge,
Right.
which is their system for creating warriors, and it started at age 7.
7 years old.
It's hard to even imagine.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's when Spartan boys were taken from their family.
Oh, wow.
And they began this life of intense
Wow.
physical and mental conditioning. I mean, think about it. Running barefoot.
Right.
Swimming in freezing rivers.
Oh, my gosh.
Enduring pain without complaint.
Wow.
It was all about pushing them to their absolute limits,
Yeah.
forging this resilience that went way beyond physical
It
strength.
sounds almost cruel
Yeah.
to modern ears,
No.
but it clearly created
Right.
incredibly tough and disciplined soldiers.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is that Riker connects this back to our
Yes.
own ideas about raising boys and men today.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
is there something we can learn from the Spartan approach,
Yeah.
even if we don't take it to those extremes?
That's the question that
Yeah.
Riker wants us to ask ourselves.
Right.
He doesn't condone everything about the Agoge,
Right.
but he does make you think about the values that it instilled. Discipline, duty, honor, self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
Are those values still relevant today?
Right.
And how do we cultivate them in a world that's so different from ancient Sparta?
Okay, so we've got the setting.
Right.
We've got this clash of empires.
Yeah.
And we've got these incredibly tough Spartan warriors.
Yeah.
But to really understand Thermopylae, we need to understand the Spartan mindset.
Right.
It wasn't just about brute force.
Yeah.
There was this deeper philosophy driving them.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
The Spartans believed in something bigger than themselves.
Oh, wow.
They were completely dedicated to their city-state,
Right.
their way of life, their code of honor.
Uh-huh.
Death in battle wasn't something they feared.
Right.
It was seen as this glorious end,
Oh.
the ultimate act of service to Sparta.
Wow.
Yeah.
Riker talks about this concept of the Cryptia.
Yes.
This year-long survival ordeal.
Right.
That was part of their training.
Uh-huh.
It sounds almost like a wilderness initiation.
Yeah.
Pushing them to their physical and mental limits.
It really makes you think about the kind of inner strength and resourcefulness they developed. It was a test of character, of their ability to survive and thrive in the face of adversity.
Right.
They weren't just training soldiers.
Yeah.
They were forging a certain type of man.
Right.
One who was self-disciplined
Right.
and completely dedicated to the Spartan ideal.
That's what makes this book so interesting.
Right.
It goes beyond just the typical historical narrative.
Yeah.
And it really forces you to consider these deeper implications of the Spartan way of life.
Right.
And it makes you wonder if there are any parallel to our own lives today.
Our own struggles and challenges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Riker isn't saying we should all become Spartans,
Right.
but he is asking us to examine our own values, our own definition of courage, and how we face adversity in a world that often feels very different from the world of ancient Greece.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So last time we were talking about this Spartan mindset
Right.
and how their training forged a certain type of man.
Yeah.
You know, resilient, disciplined, dedicated to something bigger than himself.
Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is.
But it raises the question,
Right.
like what happens when that mindset clashes head on with a massive empire like Persia?
That's where the story of Thermopylae gets really interesting. I
Right.
mean, it wasn't just a battle. It was a clash of civilization.
Oh, wow.
Of worldview.
Yeah.
And for the Persians,
Yeah.
it was a serious wake-up call.
Yeah.
They weren't used to this kind of resistance.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Must have been pretty shocking for them.
I think so.
You know, there's this massive force
Right.
used to just rolling over everyone in their path.
Right.
And suddenly they're being held back
Right.
by this relatively small group of Spartans.
Exactly.
It was their reaction.
Well, Riker points out that they initially underestimated the Spartans.
Oh, really?
They saw them as like a minor obstacle, a nuisance to be swatted aside.
Right.
But as the battle dragged on and the Spartans held their ground, it forced the Persians to reassess their entire strategy.
So they had to adapt.
They did.
They couldn't just rely on brute force anymore.
Exactly. They had to start thinking about the terrain,
Right.
about the Spartans' tactic, and how to counter them.
Wow.
They also had to deal with the psychological impact
Right.
of the Spartan resistance.
Yeah.
Now, it started to chip away at their confidence, their sense of invincibility.
There's something really powerful about that image.
There is.
You know, those Spartans just holding the line against all odds. It's like they embody this unyielding spirit,
Right.
a refusal to back down, even in the face of overwhelming power.
And that's what makes Thermopylae such an enduring story.
Yeah.
You know, it speaks to something deep within us, this admiration for courage and resilience in the face of adversity.
But it wasn't just about the Spartans, right?
No.
Thermopylae also had a huge impact on the rest of Greece.
It did.
Especially Athens.
Yeah.
How did they respond to what was happening at that narrow pass?
Thermopylae sent shockwaves throughout Greece.
Oh, wow.
It was a defining moment.
Right.
It ignited this sense of unity and national pride. The Spartan sacrifice became a rallying cry,
Oh, wow.
a symbol of resistance against tyranny.
It's interesting how a single battle can have such a ripple effect.
I know, it's amazing.
You know, uniting people who might otherwise be divided.
Absolutely. For Athens, which was a rising power at the time,
Right.
Thermopylae was a call to action. They realized if they wanted to survive the Persian threat, they had to stand together with the other Greek city-states.
So Thermopylae was a turning point.
It was.
Not just in the battle against the Persians,
Right.
but in like the development of a unified Greek identity.
Exactly. It forced the Greeks to put aside their differences and recognize their shared values, their shared destiny.
Wow.
And that unity, that sense of purpose,
Yeah.
ultimately played a key role in their eventual victory over the Persians.
The book also touches on the role of the Oracle of Delphi in all of this.
Right.
For those who aren't familiar,
Sure.
can you explain who she was
Yeah.
and why she was so important in ancient Greece?
So the Oracle of Delphi was like a spiritual advisor,
Okay.
a seer who was believed to have a direct connection to the gods.
Oh, wow.
People from all over Greece would travel to Delphi to seek her guidance
Right.
on everything,
Wow.
from personal matters to affairs of state.
So her words carried a lot of weight.
Oh, they did.
Did she have anything to say about Thermopylae?
She did.
Oh, really?
And her prophecy added another layer of complexity to the story.
Wow.
She foretold that a Spartan king would fall in battle.
Oh.
And of course, that's exactly what happened.
Right.
King Leonidas died at Thermopylae.
Knowing that prophecy,
Right.
knowing their king was destined to die,
Yeah.
must have weighed heavily on the Spartans.
It must have.
Did it affect their decision to fight?
It's hard to say for sure.
Right.
But Riker suggests that the prophecy may have actually strengthened their resolve.
Oh, wow.
It may have given them a sense of fatalism, a belief that they were fulfilling their destiny,
Right.
even in death.
That's fascinating.
It is.
It's like their courage was intertwined with their sense of fate,
Right.
their acceptance of the inevitable. But it also raises questions about free will.
It does.
Did they really have a choice?
Yeah.
Or were they just playing out a preordained script?
That's a question that philosophers have grappled with for centuries. And Thermopylae, with its blend of prophecy and human action, only adds to the mystery.
It definitely makes you think.
It does.
And it's a reminder that even in ancient times, people wrestled with these big questions about fate, destiny, the meaning of life.
Absolutely. And Riker doesn't offer easy answers.
Right.
He presents the different perspectives, historical context,
Right.
and encourages us to draw our own conclusion.
It's clear that Thermopylae was much more than just a battle.
Oh, good.
It was a turning point in history, a catalyst for change,
Right.
a story that continues to resonate with us today.
It's a story about courage, sacrifice, and the power of the human spirit to resist even the most overwhelming odds. And it's a story that has lessons for us, even in the modern world.
We've been exploring Thermopylae as this clash of civilization, this pivotal moment in history. But what's incredible is that it still has so much to say to us today, thousands of years later.
It's the power of these kinds of stories. They tap into something fundamental about the human experience. Courage, sacrifice, the struggle against overwhelming odds. I mean, those themes resonate no matter what time period you're in.
Riker does a great job of connecting those ancient themes to modern life. He
Mm-hmm.
argues that even though we don't face Persian army, we all have our own Thermopylaes to overcome.
Exactly. We all face challenges, whether they're personal struggles, professional setbacks, or even just navigating the complexities of modern life. You know, those can feel just as daunting as facing down an army in their own way.
So how do we apply those lessons of Thermopylae to those modern challenges? What can we learn from those Spartans who stood their ground against impossible odds?
Well, one of the key takeaways is the importance of having a strong set of values. Something to believe in, something worth fighting for. You know, the Spartans were deeply committed to their city-state, their way of life, their code of honor. And that gave them this unwavering sense of purpose, even in the face of death.
It's like having that inner compass, that moral grounding that helps you navigate difficult decisions and stay true to yourself, even when things get tough.
Exactly. It's about knowing what you stand for and being willing to defend it, even when it's unpopular or difficult.
Another lesson that stands out to me
Yeah.
is the importance of discipline and self-mastery.
Oh, absolutely.
The Spartans were known for their rigorous training, their ability to endure hardship, their unwavering focus. I mean, those weren't just physical qualities.
No, they weren't.
They were reflections of a deep inner discipline.
And that's something we can cultivate in our own lives, regardless of our physical abilities. It's about having the self-control to resist temptations, to push through discomfort, to stay focused on our goals, even when we'd rather give up.
It's about being the master of your own mind and body, rather than being ruled by impulses or distractions.
Precisely. And that kind of discipline is essential for achieving anything worthwhile in life, whether it's building a successful career, maintaining a healthy relationship, or simply becoming the best version of yourself.
Riker also talks about the importance of brotherhood, of having a strong network of support, especially when facing adversity.
It's so important.
The Spartans fought as a unit, relying on each other, drawing strength from their shared bonds.
That sense of camaraderie, of shared purpose, is incredibly powerful.
It is.
It's about knowing you're not alone in your struggle, that you have people you can count on, people who will have your back no matter what.
It makes me think about the importance of finding your tribe.
It is.
You know, those people who share your values, who support your goals, who challenge you to grow.
Absolutely. And that's something that can be especially important for men in today's world, where traditional forms of male bonding and mentorship are often lacking.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening.
It has.
We've gone from the battlefields of ancient Greece to the challenges of modern life. And it's amazing how much the story of Thermopylae still has to teach us.
It is a reminder that the human experience, for all its complexities and changes, also has these timeless elements, these core values and struggle that connect us across time and cultures.
If you're looking for a deeper understanding of this pivotal moment in history and how its lessons resonate today, I highly recommend checking out Thermopylae, The Rite of Passage by Conrad Riker.
Great book.
You can find it on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
It's a captivating read that will challenge your perceptions of courage, sacrifice, and what it means to be a man in the modern world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Thermopylae.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.